Welcome to the ARISTEiA podcast, where experts talk about excellence. In today's podcast, we have the pleasure of having with us Harietta Eleftherochorinou, Vice President for AI Strategy and Operations and Vice President for Innovation Ventures, IQVIA. With her is also Rania Svoronou, Head of Design for US Personal Banking and AI at Citibank.
Good morning, Rania.
Hello. Hi, Harietta. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing really well. Full day in New York. Can't ask for more.
And I am here in Greece. Thank you so much for this great opportunity of us meeting in this fantastic podcast. We have had, dare I say, both of us fairly unconventional paths that we had to carve out ourselves, you in finance and me in healthcare. And it's really a great opportunity. And thank you to Konstantinos and to ARISTEiA for giving us this time to share some of our learnings and our experiences. Would you like to take some time and introduce yourself?
Sure, and very happy to be here. And absolutely special thanks to Konstantinos and ARISTEiA. So I'll start. I always say where to start. So I'm born and raised in Greece, Athens, Greece. That's where I grew up. And I always had a passion about design, art and design. So I left abroad to study in the UK from a pretty young age, 17, to study graphic design. And then I wanted to merge with technology. So then I had my master's in interaction design in London. And that was like over 15 years ago, entered the workforce in the advertising industry, and then moved my way through digital design. And now I'm working a lot with AI design. So my current role is actually head of design at US Personal Banking and the head of design for artificial intelligence at Citibank. I've been almost a year now on this role. Before that, I was 9 years at IBM Consulting, and before that, just various agencies and corporations. So it has been quite of a mix and match, I would say. But the things that really guide me is design, technology, and then I apply to different industries. Now it happens to be finance. So, and I'm based in New York, and I also lived in London and Miami. So quite moved around a bit.
You're quite a bit of a ride. Thinking of
what about you?
Thinking of my path, similar and somewhat different. Let me start from the reverse, from where I am today. I'm currently the Vice President of AI Strategy and Operations globally at IQVIA, and I've been with the firm for 8 years, and I have been fortunate to be able to execute on my role recently from Greece, where we came back after 15 years in London, and we are with my husband and many others, friends of ours, real examples of brain regain, the people who came back to Greece. And what a change after 15 years. After 15 years in London, we left Greece in one way. We found Greece in a different, dare I say, much better way. I've been with the firm for 8 years, and I've had the opportunity to also establish and run the corporate function, which is the Innovation Hub, responsible for investing and partnering commercially with pioneering startups, which was the outcome of my previous role, very successful, where I had the opportunity to build an AI solutions portfolio on top of IQVIA's real world data. And you can think of me as back in that role as a CEO and a founder of a startup within a large corporation. Prior to IQVIA, I was in Deloitte. I also had the opportunity there, another great organization, to stand up the whole advanced analytics and data science practice from the ground up. And prior to Deloitte, I have spent quite a few years in university, where I had my master's in bioinformatics and systems biology, my PhD in medicine, postdoc in medicine, while my first degree was in electrical and computer engineering in the Aristoteles University of Thessaloniki, and then I moved to London to do my postgraduate studies. So very similar to you, I had different passions that I found a way to combine with technology and medicine, and to carve out my path in Greece and abroad, exactly like yourself. So it's really great that we have the opportunity to share these perspectives.
Agree. It's been a ride for sure.
And if there is something that we have common, is really our passion for innovation and for pushing the boundaries of what is possible. So innovation can look very different depending on the sector. In your work at Citi, what does innovation mean, and how do you see it shaping the future of your industry?
Sure. So I've had a lot of conversations around innovation, and with my work at Citi and at IBM. And the one thing that has stuck in my mind, and it's actually relevant to that, is that innovation and perfection don't go together. So a lot of the times I'll have stakeholders and say, we want innovative solutions, we want innovative products, we want like innovation, but then there's not going to be room, let's say, to iterate or fail. So the one thing I always I start with is like true innovation means usually there's room to experiment. That doesn't go hand in hand with, you know, the business, for example, outcomes you need to bring. So my role here, it's first of all setting the scene for that then when they're asking for innovation, we're going for innovation. There needs to be some room. I'm not going to say failure because nobody wants to hear that in the big corporation, but there needs to be some room for experimentation, right? And try different things. So right now with my role hitting the design for AI, and what does this mean? That means like the look and feel, that means the experience, let's see, of an AI product. I'll just give an example. Probably most people use ChatGPT. There is an interface, there is an experience. That's really what I do. That's really what I bring with my team when we talk about, okay, how we bring more innovative experiences into AI products. So right now, a few things that I'm involved in is, for example, our internal tools, right, that we have, how we making sure we have some consistent experiences, how do we drive user adoption, how do we make sure we design ethically, and we're creating those also AI design principles. So that's one aspect. And then it's how we're innovating for our consumers, our customers as well, right, in terms of our products that we have, especially our digital products. So that is, and there are a few things. For example, there is, of course, a big need on the insights, right? Where I think in the financial industry specifically, innovation comes in is like, it's more on the how are we delivering new insights, for example, right? In somebody's financial wealth, let's say. So I always say innovation is at the intersection of the human and the technology. So these are a few things that it's focusing on the internal tools and also in our consumer-facing tools. So hopefully that gives a good spectrum of the different experiences.
And experience is so big in our sector as well. It's more the patient experience, but I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. And actually, I have a question for you because we're both in regulated industries. And the one challenge I found is that experience and the regulated industry is something actually even more unique and something we should pay even more attention. So, Harietta, I'd like to know, the healthcare sector is heavily regulated, right? Which might limit certain kinds of experimentation. How do you approach innovation within these constraints? And how much room do you feel you have to push the boundaries?
Yeah, regulation in healthcare is one hot topic these days, and especially when it comes to artificial intelligence broadly and in healthcare and life sciences specifically. I would start by saying that healthcare is regulated for good reasons. This is for patient safety, for data privacy, for security, and for trust. Leading organizations such as IQVIA don't see regulators as blockers. We see them as partners. We work with regulators, with patient advocacy group, with several other organizations in the industry, players, our clients, to influence and shape the right standards, and especially in artificial intelligence. IQVIA is very strong about what we call healthcare grade AI, which is artificial intelligence that meets the highest standards of privacy, safety, security, and trust. And this is what we are driving and advocating in the market. Now, within the boundary conditions of the regulators of the regulations that are already in place and those to come. There are plenty of great examples of pushing the boundaries. And like you said, especially in my sector, by designing and developing novel technologies that meet the appropriate regulatory pathway, and nevertheless, they still create breakthroughs, solutions that are faster, safer, and ethical. At IQVIA, we have over 200 of AI solutions that we have taken to market. Several of them, exactly to your point, focus on the experience of the user, those that have to do with AI patient engagement, those that have to do with clinical trial operations. And therefore, my short answer would be that there is plenty of innovation that one can drive, and we've seen tangible examples of those within the boundary conditions of the various regulatory frameworks. In my view, and in my career, what I've seen a lot of times, pushing boundaries is really about pushing mindsets, especially in our industries, the financial industry and the healthcare industries, where we have plenty of mindsets that have been conditioned for a long time to think in a certain way. We really need to push the boundaries around the art of the possible and to rethink the problem. I don't necessarily like to say the out of the box, but that's what it is, but to think the problem differently through a disruptive angle, and maybe sometimes bringing great examples from other industries.
I fully agree with all these points. And it's what you say, it's the mindset, and it's a cultural change, actually. That's really is a cultural change, a cultural shift. And it's, as I say, it takes a village, especially in the regulated industry. That's all great points. Amazing.
And, can I add that we both work with data, right? It's different kinds of data, patient health data in our case, customer financial data in your case. And we both appreciate how working with data in our industries requires a human-centered approach. What tools and methods do you use in your field to keep that human factor strong at the heart of the innovation?
No, absolutely. So one thing, because I am a trained designer, the number one thing you learn is that we're designing for humans. And technology or any product out there is a tool or the means to design for the human. So the one thing, and huge advocate, and of course practicing it, and I've been talking a lot about, is the human-centered design, right? Human-centered design. I mean, it started back in the Stanford Design School. It got even more popularized by IDEO and a few other consultancies. Also, when I was back at IBM Consulting, we're using it a lot, and IBM Design Thinking, and also now at Citi. The one thing we start is, okay, how are we making sure that we're designing experiences and products, especially now that most things are powered by AI, by having the human in the center. So one thing is the toolkit of design thinking. That could be like research, user research, right? We need to make sure, also we have a diverse group that we're designing for. We need to make sure we map, for example, the journey, what we call the user journey. Like in this case, right, you're entering a retail bank, right? What's your full experience? What's your full experience, especially when you have different touch points? And then, of course, you need to prototype. In our case, in my world, we work a lot with prototyping, faster, cheaper, right? Before you enter, of course, and develop it and code it. And then we're testing, we're iterating, get it out of the world. Usually sometimes in parts, right? We want to test something. So we do a lot of also testing or A/B testing different ideas with different groups, different regions. There's so many things that we need to take, to be accountable, since we have like so many million of users. So these are some of the key tools, I would say. And the other thing, very equally important thing, is to bring the rest on board. What I mean, the rest, like the business, right? My literally daily schedule is spending most time with the business, with with the legal teams, the compliance teams, the engineering teams. So it's really that true cross collaboration that brings what we say the human factor. Because if I design something and it's not implemented that way, I didn't really do my job. So the one thing is, how do we make sure? I mean, of course, there's the agile, right, methodology. We're trying to work in agile. It's not always, I'm not going to lie, it's not always the most the best tool to use, especially in a regulated industry. But the most important thing is to have those tools, again, coming from a design thinking perspective, an omni-channel experience as well, different tools, different devices, and bring them to try to bring a holistic experience. But it's absolutely central. And the work I've been doing always a designer for my team, and to make sure we deliver the best experiences. So I'd love to hear
this
your
really
thoughts.
Resonates with me. I'm not a designer, but in the artificial intelligence world, where especially in the agentic AI, there is a lot of autonomy involved. I want to share the whole agentic AI principles. We have this human in the loop to always make sure that either a human supervises or trains or validates, but it really resonates with me. And through my previous years, it just trains how we are in different industries, but we have so many things in common, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we're both in huge companies, I would say. So let's start with that, right? It has its own complexities. So we both work in giant companies, right? Multi-layered organizational and operational structure. So have you found ways to channel your personal passion and values into shaping the company's direction or mission?
I have, and it's a great question, because people like you and I and many others need to. It's a core need that we have to find ways to channel our passions and our curiosity. There are definitely two examples that I would like to share, that they are somewhat different to each other. The first one was when I joined the company. I was given, like I said, the opportunity to build my own AI solutions portfolio. Therefore, I had the opportunity to design, build, and take to market a whole new suite of products. This gave me the opportunity to build a solution that could drive impact almost immediately in the market, something that I believe that you feel as well, the direct patient impact, the direct client impact, which was a fantastic opportunity for me, following my previous appointments in my previous organization, where my work in the consulting space was somewhat different. And this directly spoke to my passion of building solutions, right? As an engineer, all engineers always have that inherent need to build solutions, and then to be able to see the tangible impact that these solutions make to clients and patients. Then roll that forward a few years. Upon the success of this opportunity, where I was able to scale up the business and then leave it behind as a new business unit, I was given the opportunity to establish and run the Innovation Hub, which directly invests and partners commercially and strategically with pioneering startups. There I had the opportunity to meet some extraordinary people that they have themselves had suffered from a health problem that was disruptive enough, transformational enough, and inspiring enough to turn them into founders of solutions that would help other patients, or that it would help alleviate the suffering from other patients. I must say that we have a lot of people at IQVIA like that, and there are a lot of people in the world, but especially in the founders community, there are a lot of people in the healthcare and life sciences industry that they are driven by their own purpose. I would like to share with you one example of one lady. She herself was diagnosed with cancer, and there was no treatment available. And I don't want to share the name of the company, not to do injustice and to do a favor to all the other companies, but she has been by far the most inspiring for me. She was diagnosed with cancer. She had no treatment available. Therefore, the only path forward was to die. Without education, she found herself opportunity to perhaps find a clinical trial and join a clinical trial, and giving herself an opportunity to live. She didn't have any knowledge of how to do that. She had to find herself clinical trials. She had to fly from her country to other countries because there were no countries operated in her trial. Few years forward, she survived. And what was the next thing that she did? She started a company. She started a company acknowledging the problem that many of these patients are terrified, and without any option, they really do not know what to do. Therefore, she uses artificial intelligence in order to match the very complex protocols of clinical trials that are very hard to understand for the public with the symptoms as those are expressed by cancer patients, and then gives them an option to life by matching them with the appropriate clinical trial, right? She has joined our network, and we have plenty of startups that do something similar, but of all of them, dare I say, it has been the most inspiring. So this really then speaks to my values, that we all have chosen a career path for certain reasons, but at the end of the day, all of us are driven by something more meaningful. And for many of us, this has been a personal suffering in the healthcare space.
Oh, mate, that's an amazing story, by the way. Truly inspiring. And it reminds like that we are our values. We are truly our values. This is great. Thanks for sharing.
Exactly right. And talking about passions and values, how has your passion influenced the choices that you've made in your career? And have you seen it reflected in the cultural strategic vision of the organizations that you've worked with?
Absolutely. And that's a great question as well. So I'll start a quick story. I went back home to Greece for summer vacation, and my mom had like a very colorful, like big piece of paper with color. And I'm like, what is this? It's like, you drew this and you wrote on it when you were 15. So I had completely forgot about it, why I'm sharing that. And I read it. I was 15. I was going to get an art like course at high school. And I was basically saying how passionate I am about art and about making people's life better through design. And that I don't know where the future will take me, but I'm very ambitious to find out. I was 15. So every time I'm like, okay, first of all, I took it with me and I framed it in my apartment in New York. But then I went to my team and I shared that, because my strategy actually for this year for my team is elevate the craft, design excellence, and bring business value and people value. So again, unconsciously, I told them everything that we do here, everything I'm trying to drive for myself, for my career, for my team, through design, of course, that's my medium of doing that. It ties to the values and the passion and the purpose that I had since I was 15. Now, there are, of course, a lot of people that might find their passion much later, but I am a true believer of you have to love what you do. Whatever you choose, you have to love what you do, and you have to be passionate about it, because I think that creates what you discussed before, your core values that then drive your decisions. And decisions can be, of course, what is the position I want to take, or maybe the role, but also all the daily decisions of how you want to run the team. So this is something I'm actually instilling in the culture of my team, that you have to be passionate about what you do. How can I help you? How can we get there? And also that passion, bring it to my partners. That's something also I hear very often, of how obsessed, actually I hear the word obsessed, which it can be good sometimes, to be obsessed with what we do, because that is really where passion, obsession, I think, can bring amazing, I would say, results as well. So in the end of the line, also, we're talking about the human in the loop. I always see design as service to the people and to the world. So having those values, having this passion, how do I bring this through my work? And then, of course, to the culture and the organization. So it's all interconnected. And I just found it very interesting because that happened very recently, a few weeks ago. So it's like, okay, it seems like I'm still, following my passion. So I think that's important for everybody. So great question.
I must say I'm fascinated by your mother and how, sometimes we love them so much. Sometimes we get angry at them, but then there comes such a moment that they have kept this something from the time that we were 15 years old. And
I know.
And you're thinking only mom could have done that. I feel the same. When I became a mother,
so
I saw my mother very differently. Only mom could have done that. Sorry.
No, sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, and I also agree with you on the passion, although this is not a discussion to go down to, but there are two camps being formed, those who say follow your passion, those who say don't follow your passion. It's not the right thing, just do what's, although I would to a large extent agree with you, appreciating that some things we need to do, some things that they are not directly our passion, but they are still very useful and important.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, this is a very good point. You say the follow the passion. I would say follow the passion and be good at it. I agree. I know this has been going around because, yeah, that's a very good point, right? I was good in art, right? I had a talent in drawing. So I merged passion with being good at it. So it's very important point you're making here. It's not just following the passion, it's also what you're good at or what you find important. So yeah, that's a great point actually you raised. I fully agree on this. Awesome. Well, on that point, actually, Harietta, so we do come from quite different industries, finance and healthcare, but I wonder, are there any ideas, methods, or innovations from my field that you think could be relevant to yours?
I must say that I'm no expert in finance. And I find the health and life sciences industry so unique that off the top of my head, I would say that it's true that finance and healthcare from the outset look very different. But there are some deep structures similarities that we share. They're both highly regulated industries. They are data intensive and in fact intensive on transactional data. They are risk sensitive and culturally there is an element of trust that needs to be built among the various players of the ecosystem for the industries to flourish. So, like I said in the beginning, I'm no expert, and I typically like not to have a position in areas that I'm no expert, but I would think that perhaps some of the solutions that have come to solve for the high dimensionality and the data structures that are involved in finance could find their application in some of the highly dimensional patient and molecular data that we are managing in our industry. And thinking back, plenty of engineers with my background went into science, into finance, plenty went into healthcare, looking at the friends, family, and network. So a lot of the application of AI engineering and a lot of the algorithms that are being applied to finance for real-time decision-making or for trading could bear some resemblance on to the algorithms that we have in healthcare for patient-level data predictions, either for real-time decision support or for quasi-real-time predictions. And possibly, I would also think of the whole field. I've been reading some books recently. The whole field around behavioral economics that is trying to understand the decision making behind the investors and financial decisions could find some application in a lot of the behavioral analytics that we have in healthcare life sciences, trying to understand the various decisions of patients, of healthcare providers, and all the players, and could have some application when we think about patient adherence or other outcomes. Or it could be a long shot, right? Like I said, I am no expert, but I could see some similarities for sure.
Amazing. No, definitely. I agree with this as well, especially of how, again, the healthcare and the financial industries, being regulated industries, consider a lot of those points together.
And then, the same thing, I don't know what you know about healthcare, but would you see elements of the healthcare and life sciences industry that you think could offer some fresh insight into finance?
Absolutely. First of all, I'm actually a huge supporter for many reasons of the healthcare industry. I actually always wanted to work eventually on the healthcare industry of how it can apply design. And there's some amazing work there that it's being done. So one thing is when I joined Citi and I was, a little bit of concern of like how design with the financial industry would merge. I said, Rania, two of the most important things in a person's life is their health and basically their wealth, their financial decisions. So and that changed completely my perspective, how I see the financial industry, that we're actually also how we can help, how I can help people's lives. And of course, health is health. We all say health is number one. So I think that's one of the reasons they're fully interconnected, which I find very interesting. I mean, we talked a little bit earlier on the human, right? The human-centered design. So it is putting the human in the loop, I think, in both cases, health and financials. And then you also mentioned about like the ethical aspect, right? We're talking about, you have the patient, we have, of course, our customer, how we're making sure, right, we're protective of the profiles of the data. That's a huge, I think, if not the biggest, one of the biggest things to make sure we tackle correctly. And then it's also the feedback and iteration that happens in both industries. And I think that healthcare is an amazing, phenomenal job in that, right? They're trying something, they have trials, and then they iterate, they innovate. I think that is something we definitely have and need even more in the financial industry. And then, of course, the cross-disciplinary of ethics frameworks that are happening, and the cross-disciplinary roles that are happening, and how many different, are you say, engineers or doctors in this case you have, for example, in your industry, and then you come to financial and you have finance expert. I'm by no means a finance expert. I'm learning every day, and it's fascinating, actually. And then you have, of course, and all the other experts. So it's kind of, you have like such a big pool of experts come together. But I think there's a lot of things on the healthcare industry that absolutely directly applicable to my industry. And that's, I always think of that, health and wealth. It's an amazing combination. So
this is true. And what you're saying about the multiple functions working together, it's also 100% true for how healthcare and life science has evolved over the past 20 years. Now, there are new masters and postdoctoral opportunities to blend in the sciences.
Absolutely.
And that follows in the industry, which gives me a good segue to my last question. So we both work with so many people from so many functions, and we also have the opportunity to meet so many great people socially. But if you had the opportunity in a perfect setting to invite somebody for dinner, any living or deceased person, who would that somebody be? What place would you select? And what music would you play in the background?
So, you know why I love this question? Because it's like, who pops up first in your mind? And I had multiple, frankly, obviously, personalities I like to have dinner with. But the one that is the most prominent one, I would say, is Walt Disney. Why? I'm obsessed with Disney. I grew up with Disney, but I still love the Disney, what they represent, the experience, everything. I'm a huge Disney fan, going to Disney parks. So that's one of the reasons I'd love to meet the man behind that. And of course, being a creative myself, I just found it fascinating, especially at the time that this started. And for location, I would merge it with another passion of mine, Paris. I love Paris as well. So I would like to have a setup. The dinner would be in Paris, and the music I would pick, actually all Disney themed. I would put all the Disney music on the background, which frankly, I think they have some of the most fascinating music. So very creative dinner, I think it would be, and a very fun dinner. Turning the question back to you, I'd love to know, who would you invite?
Rania, first of all, I'm going to say that now I will always remember Rania. I will be. I wasn't necessarily expecting anything, but Walt Disney is something I have been having a crush on as well over the years. I would invite Sir David Attenborough. I have been inspired by Sir David throughout my entire life. And he has also inspired many generations, not only me, to see life and the world with wonder, with curiosity, and with responsibility. What I love about Sir David, and I have watched all his documentaries, that I could have is his remarkable way of communicating the wonders of nature, always with the intention to inspire and to make us understand and care in a world that everybody is trying to preach and lecture, right, and create something that he doesn't do. I am also inspired by the fact that he, in his unique way, always strikes the right balance of science, poetry, and stories. And he also instills this urgency for us to act for the planet. And I recently bought his story in a little book for my daughter. It's called Little Stories, Big Dreams. And as we have been going again through his story, he has such a meaningful and rich life. So it would be an absolute honor to have dinner with Sir David Attenborough. I would pick, of course, a open air setting. I would choose something custom, somewhere in Greece, to give him the opportunity to experience some of the beautiful Greek nature. And I would choose, no surprises, Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World.
I love that. I'm there already. I'm there. I think we would have great. I think both of us, if we combine, that would be an amazing dinner.
Yeah,
amazing.
Let's go for a dinner the 4 of us.
That would be awesome. Awesome.
With that, I would like to thank you.
Likewise, Harietta.
Podcast. Really, really.
Likewise, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, and no, I really loved our conversation, and hope you have a great day. Thank you so much.
And you too.
A huge thank you to Harietta Eleftherochorinou and Rania Svoronou for this podcast, ARISTEiA in 30 minutes, where experts talk about excellence.